Hey everybody, welcome to Bible class. I'm excited to dig in with you this morning into Matthew chapter 6. We have reached the second chapter of Jesus' great Sermon on the Mount. He has been talking to us all about discipleship, right? What it looks like to follow him, what citizens of the kingdom of heaven are going to look like and be like. And so the sermon started by talking about the character of a disciple. And when we have the right character, we're going to have the right sort of influence on the world around us. We're going to be lined up with the right sort of standard. And there are going to be battles of the heart that we must fight. We're not on our own. We're standing strong in the strength that God supplies. And so we're fully committed to him, and we're living out that commitment in the world, even when it comes to the way that we act and interact and react with the people around us, even those who are intent on being our enemies. In what you and I have as Matthew chapter 6, Jesus is going to talk with us about the aim of a disciple. What are we really looking for? Whose praise are we really living for? Could I remind you of how Jesus said back in Matthew 5, verse 20, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. And in Matthew chapter 6, he's going to give us a little bit more insight into whose praise many of these scribes and Pharisees were really looking for. Let's dig in. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 1, Jesus tells his disciples, beware. There's a trap here that we need to be aware of and not fall into. Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by other people. You see, there are some religious people who have the aim of just being seen by other people and being praised by other people. The problem is when we practice our righteousness in order to be seen by other people, we have no reward from our Father in heaven. Can Jesus give us an example or two of that? In verse 2, that's what he does. When you give to the needy, sound no trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may be praised by others. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. Can you think of any examples of how someone might do that today? We'll talk about that as a class, but for now, Jesus gives us the better path, the aim of a citizen of the kingdom of heaven. When you give to the needy, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. What did Jesus mean by that? We'll talk about that. For now, let your giving be done in secret. But know that if that's the sort of heart that you have, if that's the character you're bringing to the kingdom, your Father who sees in secret will reward you. He goes on in verse 5 to give us another example. When you pray, you must not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and at the street corners. Notice their aim, that they may be seen by others. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you, my disciples, when you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. In this sermon, Jesus goes on to talk a little bit more about prayer, and we'll circle back to that in our next study, talking about the prayers of a disciple. For now, would you look down at verse 16, where Jesus gives us one more example of what the aim of a disciple really is, what reward we're looking for, whose praise we're really living for. Verse 16, and when you fast. What was fasting? Lots of people have lots of questions about that. We'll talk about that as a class. When you fast, do not look gloomy like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces that their fasting may be seen by others. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, that your fasting may not be seen by others, but by your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Whose praise am I really living for? Do I have a truly authentic connection with God? Well, that's going to depend in many ways on my aim as a disciple of Jesus. So let's dig into that together. Thanks so much for being in class today. Hope I've set you up for a good discussion and that you have a great week ahead.